how has Agile evolved since 2001? Why are we talking about 2001? 17 men, unfortunately they were all men, went up a mountain to go skiing in February 2001, and they created the values of something now called the Agile Manifesto. It's actually called the Manifesto for Agile Software Development, but the website is agilemanifesto.org, so it became known as the Agile Manifesto. And some really prominent people in that space weren't there. They didn't realize the significance of the event, or maybe they just weren't available for whatever reason. But those 17 people kind of became very famous. A lot of other people became famous as well afterwards. And a lot of people, of course, invented things after that event, because that's quite a long time ago. And they came up with these 4 values. In the subsequent weeks, they came up with 12 principles. And they seemed like reasonable principles at the time. They were of their time, I would say. There was a real problem back then in the software development space, where there was this kind of perception that software developers didn't have very good social skills. I used to be a software developer. I can relate to that a little bit, but I'm sure not every software developer is like that. A lot of them were very cool people, actually. But there was this kind of perception that there was a kind of a problem with people metaphorically with their headphones on, like me, in a corner, not communicating very well with people who wanted stuff to be done and wanted problems to be solved. And there was a kind of I love what Jim Benson said recently in one of his videos, actually. He said when he's interviewing people, he looks for developers who can solve a problem, not can just do their bit and just hand it off to somebody else. So there was kind of that problem at the time. And there was also a kind of level of frustration as well with the overuse of traditional approaches, where it didn't feel quite right. We now understand from complexity, particularly from a framework called the Coleman sensory giver, we now understand that waterfall does not work in the complex space. It's actually a road to chaos, negative chaos. Positive chaos is where you invent things, but negative chaos, think of a storm, disaster, something like that. Something like that on your product development, your product management, your project management. So that was a real problem. And so 3 of the people who were there, as far as I understand, represented Scrum. There was Mike Beadle, Jeff Sutherland, and Ken Schwaber. And I'm sure there were other people supporting Scrum as well, but there were some other approaches as well. And they come up with these approaches, but what since transpired was Scrum became the dominant approach, I would say. And they started with this certified Scrum Master and then certified product owner, I believe. I'm not sure the exact timing. But that triggered something in us all, because, well, not everyone, but a lot of people like to say they've got this certification. They tapped into something there. And that was initially good because it kind of drew energy into this space and made it very popular. In fact, Agile might not be as prominent today if it wasn't for Scrum. But I can't help feeling that the world has moved on a little bit. And I'm wondering if both Scrum and Agile are getting towards the end of their life cycle, which means there's a lot of companies that are very late going onto that bandwagon now. And it's kind of spreading beyond software development. It's gone way beyond it. I've been working on software for the last 5 years. I've been scientists, engineers, all sorts of people, marketing people to implement agility. And new options have become available, which is great. But now there's more of a focus on customer. There was one principle in the Agile Manifesto that focused on the customer. There was a lot of it was about projects and processes and people working together, kind of an internal focus within the Agile Manifesto, I would say. And what I tell people now is you don't need to be capital A Agile to become Agile. You can get your agility from all sorts of approaches, and really good agility chefs will help you to understand the options that are in front of you. So I think what has happened is Agile has become commoditized to a fault, I would say, to the extent that it's now become maybe industrialized a bit. There's this expression, the Agile industrial complex, but there is a movement. There's a couple of movements. I'm involved in one of the movements to rewild Agile, to kind of get it back to its source in terms of people working together in small groups or teams, solving complex problems, working together, talking to each other, talking to customers, understanding what customers want next. But now I think where the 2022, 2023 lens is, and moving forward from 2023, is discovery, finding those ideas we should never build. And I'm very encouraged by the Scrum with Lean UX option from scrum.org. It's a fabulous Trojan horse into the world of discovery. The third Lean UX book is out as well. Delighted with that. Number of attempts before that, like Lean Startup and Design Thinking and so on, which still exist, by the way, and people still use them. But I love the Lean UX approach, really simplifying without over simplifying discovery. And I think that's where we're going now. I think the last 20 years has been about delivery and about improving delivery. And I think the next 20 years will be about improving discovery, like a heat-seeking missile, looking for value, really finding out, we think we're going that way, actually we should go this way. That's where the value is, it's over that way. And I think that's where we're going to go next. And I think we'll also be much more serious about revisiting the problem space. A lot of the time we start with a business problem statement or some opportunity we want to work on, and we deliberate on that and we test it and so on. But I wonder if we don't test enough every few months if this is actually the right problem to be working on right now. Is this the most important thing we should focus on right now? Have we got enough value in that area? Should now we move on to the next opportunity or the next problem to solve? Have we delivered enough value in that space? I think that's where we're going to go next. And in fairness, the product management people are moving into that area. The design people are moving more into that area. The Scrum people are moving that way with the advent of Scrum at UX. Complexity has definitely moved into that area. It's probably leading, actually, hopefully leading a movement into better understanding about combining problem space, discovery, delivery, and working as humans and having a humane environment where Agile leaders create an environment where agility can grow. I think that's been a big gap in the last 20 years. There's a number of leadership courses available, of course, but there's been a real gap in terms of leaders fixing problems and leaders decluttering workflows, processes, and systems. There's been a lot of talk about delegation and servant leadership and a lot of fluffy stuff. I mean, these are all important things, but I think there's going to be more of a focus on more tangible things that we expect leaders and management to do to really enable agility in their organization. I think in the next 20 years, discovery, problem space, are we working on the right problem? Are these the right solutions? Will customers pay for these things? Are we doing it in a sustainable way? Learning is the first citizen, and Agile leaders kind of clearing the way. And actually, I'm hoping within 10 years, leadership is everywhere without being a position. That's actually, we don't need leadership positions to have leadership. That actually, leadership is everywhere.